For months now, we've shown you video in a number of different American cities of unmarked law enforcement officers just driving up in Kia minivans and other regular cars and hauling people off the streets. It's a horrifying image, but until now, I haven't actually spoken to anyone who had to go through that to understand what it must have been like. Well, now we have an individual, Jeremy Logan, co-chair of the Spokane DSA chapter. Welcome to the Damage Report.
Hi, thank you.
Very glad to have you on. So this happened to you. Tell me a little bit about how it developed, the protest that you're at, and what actually happened.
So we had organized a few protest demonstrations downtown, and been a part of others. At least played secondary roles in some of the other protests that had happened. And I was interviewed in an article in the Inlander where the sheriff had been blaming Antifa for the problems, for some property damage and that sort of thing. And I went out afterwards and criticized the sheriff pretty heavily. And I think that's when I came onto his radar. But that morning, we're heading to a protest that afternoon, actually. And I texted my friend, told him exactly where I was gonna park. When I got there, there was a car parked in a parking lot and a guy walking kind of opposite of downtown, it was just weird. It was suspicious to me right away. And then all of a sudden, I hear my name called and I turn around and there's two guys running directly at me from the opposite direction. And when I turned back around, the guy that I saw walking through the parking lot had come up on me. And then a guy that was dressed kind of like a homeless man jumped up and was alert all of a sudden, and I'm completely surrounded. The two guys that were coming at me, one looked like Militia. He had a vest on, almost like a sheriff, but there was no sheriff symbol or anything, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. And so just to be clear, this wasn't like you've been at the protest for hours, things have been happening. This was like kind of like someone was waiting for you to show up in the area.
Yes, it definitely felt, I was definitely targeted without a doubt. So I kept asking them what I was arrested for, and they said I was arrested, or I had a warrant in a county that I haven't been to in 20 years. And I knew I didn't have a warrant there. I did have a warrant for not paying fines. I got clean and sober almost 9 years ago now. The rest was actually 9 years ago. The warrant's been there for 7 years. After I completed all of my DOC and all of that stuff, they hit me with fines that I couldn't pay. I was going to school, and I just started back up and getting an education and that sort of thing, trying to turn everything around. And they hit me with these fines and told me I had to pay like $250 a month or something, and I had like $300 a month to live on. I was living on my student loans because I knew I didn't have the capacity to go to school and work a full-time job. So so it was for not, it's like $2,300, I think, is what I owe in fines. They definitely spent more money picking me up off the street than I owed.
Well, and just to be clear, generally, I don't think that police officers do stakeouts at protest locations to track down people who owe money in a different area for student loans. That, like, I get that that's their excuse, and some right wingers will hear that and think, oh, well, he did something wrong. But that doesn't read to me as anything other than an excuse, basically.
Oh yeah, and plus, what somebody doesn't pay. Let's backtrack a little bit. This fine, I've been pulled over twice, once by even a sheriff's officer, a sheriff's deputy, and told that I had this warrant, but they didn't want to extradite me. The county that I owe the money to wasn't going to pay more money to extradite me than what I owed, because it is more expensive to extradite somebody than the fine. So if they caught me in that county, then I would, they'd take me in and make me pay, but they weren't going to come and get me. They weren't looking for me. Exactly. Especially considering my original felony charge was for possession charge. There wasn't like I robbed somebody or did anything violent, So I have none of that on my adult record at all.
So one thing that I've wondered, as you know, like I said on the show, we've showed videos of people being hauled away like this, and to me as an outsider, it looks indistinguishable from a kidnapping. Like it looks like regular people kidnapping someone. You said that one of the individuals looked like a militia member, something like that. As it was happening, did you feel like, oh, this is the police taking me in? Were you wondering who this was? What were you experiencing?
I probably would have been freaking out a lot more if I hadn't heard about this happening in Portland. I figured it was DHS. The sheriff claims that it was his deputies, but it felt like it was Department of Homeland Security or something. I mean, they put me in a minivan. They were trying to figure out where to put me. And they said, put him in the van. And the other guy said, well, we can't. It's full of guns. Like they just had this van full of guns to go to a protest. Like, well, what are they doing? You know? And so the whole thing was weird. And I kept asking them, who are you? Like, I don't know who you are. Who are you? And the one guy said, don't worry about it. And yeah, and then later when they transferred me to a city cop, I asked him, I was like, what is going on? Like, this isn't normal. You don't bring somebody in for not paying fines and go through all this effort without calling the other county and finding out if they even want to accept me, if they even want to pay to have me transferred. He said, well, we can pay too. He said, those other officers said Douglas County wants you, or not Douglas County. He said Chelan County by that point. So they'd mentioned two different counties, none of which were the actual county that I had the warrant in. And so he said those officers said that Chelan County wants you. And I said, those were officers? And that's a key point, because that cop said that I asked him who those guys were, and he said, I don't know, because he was like, I don't know their names or whatever. But I was very specific in asking him, what kind of officers are those? And he said, I don't know. And then I sat there in jail for 2 days knowing I'm not there because of a warrant. You know, when I got there, everyone in intake seemed to know who I was. Like it was coordinated. Like it was obvious that they knew who I was.
So in regards to that, I mean, you mentioned that you had recently spoken out against the sheriff, but you're also involved with DSA. Do you think that might have played some role in this?
I'm involved with DSA. I'm a tenant organizer for Spokane Area Tenants United. I've been involved with a lot of organizing. We organized some of the protests and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely, I mean, I'm a target because of my politics.
Yeah. And of course, leftists of different stripes aren't the only people at these protests, especially in northwestern states. There's a long history of right wingers and militia and Boogaloo Boys and all of that showing up. Has that happened at the protests that you've been at? And have you seen them being hauled away in vans full of guns?
No, I've seen them like joking around with the cops when there was a curfew and the cops were tear gassing and shooting us with rubber bullets. And the militiamen were standing there, also past curfew, not getting hit with anything.
Did these militia members have you seen them armed?
Oh yeah, they come fully geared. Most of the time, I don't see them during the protest. They're like on the outskirts somewhere. They're LARPing for now. They're trying to pretend that they're doing something and actually doing nothing except intimidating some people. And that's their point. I mean, they don't really care about the businesses or whatever, They're there because they're against the protest, or they want to feel important. They want to feel like security guards. There's just certain people that have that something in them that makes them want to feel like a hero. And so they're going to make themselves a hero when they're doing the opposite.
So, I'd love to know what the current state of the protests are in that area now. And also, I mean, you mentioned the people who want to feel like security guards. Unfortunately, some people like Kyle Rittenhouse go in to do that and they end up killing people. Is there fear that there could be copycats at the protests that you go to?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is worried about something like that taking place. I know that there's, leftists that want to be armed at protests too. I don't think it's necessary at this point for leftists to be armed at a protest. I don't think that anything good's going to come out of that at this point. But yeah, it's definitely worrisome anytime you have people with right-wing agendas and their guns and they're fully against what we stand for, which is the liberation of working people.
Yeah. Well, look, I certainly don't envy you having to go through that experience. It sounds terrible. It sounds terrifying to be dragged away and just have to, just go along with it, assuming that they're probably cops. Hopefully they're not just random people kidnapping you. But more power to you for everything that you've done. I really do appreciate the activism, staying in the streets like that.
Yeah, and I would like to say too, like my basic fear is that that other people are going to, like militia type people, right-wing people are going to show up at these protests and start kidnapping people. And people are going to willingly go with them because they think that they're police. Because they can pick you up and put you in a van now and not identify themselves. And people are going to think that they're police officers.
I mean, I definitely share the same fear. Like I'd love to put a hypothetical to them. Like imagine you're a conservative, you're a Second Amendment activist, you're all about defending yourself. So you're walking on the street and 4 people in camo pick you up. How do you feel being put in a position where if you defend yourself, which is what you live to do, yeah, you might be killing a cop, but you have no way of knowing because they're never going to identify themselves to you. I don't understand how. Like I get that they don't care because they won't be put in that position. It's only leftists that get kidnapped in that way. But it's horrifying that all of these stories, your experience and others just like it, haven't really broken through to people. How horrifying this is, and to see it spread to so many cities. It's happening in New York and all that too. It's coast to coast at this point.
And when you hear about kidnapping, the first thing they always tell you to protect yourself is not to go to a second location. Don't let them take you to a second location. So if you are armed and you're a leftist at these protests, like somebody's gonna start shooting the cops to protect themselves. And they're gonna die because, if there's one cop, there's 10 cops.
Exactly, yeah, it's a horrible situation. It is incredibly irresponsible and dangerous for the police to be doing that. And I share your fear. I mean, it feels like we're just waiting for some right winger to use this situation that's been provided for them. So just another reason that all this is so dark, so unnecessary.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeremy, thank you again. Great having you on. Thank you for doing what you do.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.